Okay, firstly, can I say this is the first video like this I've ever done, and secondly, I need to point out that the camera adds £10 and I've got at least 3 cameras pointing at me at the moment. So there we go. Now, I don't want to sound overly dramatic, but this might be the most important personal message I've ever needed to make, which is why I wanted to video it as well as just send an email. So I hope you'll give me a few minutes of your time to let me explain why I'm doing it. If I've sent you this message directly, then you're bound to know that I've been a children and families worker for a long time. But since some of you have known me longer than others, I thought it might be useful just to share some of my background. So, my decision to work with children and young people was, I believe, my divine calling. And in the past 20 years, I've pursued this calling, and I've worked in schools in inner city Manchester, inner city Bradford, in suburban Cambridgeshire and Buckinghamshire, and most recently in rural Oxfordshire. I've worked in primary schools, secondary schools, infant schools.
I've worked in pupil referral units, emotional and behavioural difficulty schools, Church of England schools, Roman Catholic schools, community schools, independent schools, majority Muslim intake schools, all boys schools, all girls schools. And the majority of this work was done in
some of the most deprived communities of our country. You can see the link. And briefly, most recently, in some of the most affluent. I've worked on behalf
of the Bradford Interfaith Centre. I've served on numerous children's residential camps. I was a parent governor in a 3 times outstanding primary school. And
the thing I'm probably most proud of is I've made in the region of 12,000 plus personal home visits to the homes of children in just about all the locations that I've worked in. And in all of these situations, I've tried to be an asset to the schools I've worked in and to the children they serve, and I've got lots of testimonials that speak to that effect. And over all those years, I've maintained a completely unblemished professional record. And again, it depends on how long you've known me and how well you know me. You're possibly aware that I've also have a long-standing passion for social and political activism. I was actively involved in the campaigns for both of our recent national referendums, yes, both of them, the EU referendum and the AV referendum, and I suspect only the political wonks like myself remember the AV referendum. I also stood as an independent parliamentary candidate in the 2010 general election, where I ran my own campaign on a rather radical platform. You can see the link. It's my faith in Jesus that motivates both of these aspects of my life, and I try to bring the same integrity and the same passion and conviction to them both. But there's never been any question from anyone that my activism has in any way negatively affected my calling and my work within children's ministry. Until just over a year ago, when I discovered that 2 local head teachers had referred me to the local authority designated officer, or the LADO. That's the person responsible for safeguarding investigations. There was also a complaint to my employer, and in turn the situation was referred to the diocesan safeguarding officer and even to the police. Thankfully this had nothing to do with my conduct with children, which even my accusers conceded was above reproach, but it was because of my social and political views. Apparently they believed my views constituted a safeguarding risk to children, so much so that they considered referring me to the PREVENT programme, which is for terrorist and extremist threats. They wanted me banned from their school premises, including for the summer holiday club that I was responsible for. They wanted my line manager, the vicar, removed from his post on the school governors. They wanted my employer to take significant action against me. Basically, in effect, they wanted to terminate my life's work and calling. Now, the very good news is that after what seemed like a lifetime, it was actually only 3 or 4 months, the complaints against me were all officially determined to be false and requiring no further action. The police said there was nothing criminal about my views, no PREVENT referral was made, the holiday club went ahead and was another great success for the 110 children in our community. My line manager kept his post on the school governors. So all in all, I'm extremely grateful and thankful to God that the people making the judgments were all rational and level-headed enough to realise that even though some of my views might be considered fringe or radical or contentious, they're all reasoned and reasonable parts of social and theological and political discussion. There is absolutely no safeguarding risk to children. The whole affair was distressing, if I'm honest. I can only imagine how those who are falsely accused of more serious things must feel. But my distress was compounded by the fact that no matter how many times I asked, and it was lots and lots and lots and lots and lots, no one has ever told me which of my views were considered a safeguarding risk. And add to that the incidents of negligence or incompetence by some of the professionals, the little or non-existent record keeping, the acts of hypocrisy and incidents of professional misconduct by one of the head teachers, and I will include a link to those, and the seemingly deeply unethical collusion between some of the key people. It has been an interesting 12 months for me. Which brings me, at long last, to the final point. I actually need your help. If I'm ever going to discover what the truth behind these allegations was, and if I'm going to hold my accusers to account, then I need people who will stand with me. Please don't think that I'm asking you to agree with my social or political views, because I'm not, even though they're very sensible and sound ones, and you probably should. But I hope you agree that everyone is entitled to a fair trial, to justice, and to redress for false or malicious allegations. And having tried all other means to get these things, I'm now pursuing a legal remedy. And since legal representation doesn't come cheap, I'm asking you to consider lending me your practical and financial support. There's going to be a link to where you can donate, and on that link you can even find more information about why I'm doing this. And I also know from sharing my story with a few people that I know there are questions that keep cropping up, and so I've tried to answer some of those already, and again I'll provide a link to where you can read the answers to those. But if you have any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer them in person or by email or however you want to get in contact with me. So I apologise for the length of this message, but hope you can appreciate why. Thanks for making it to the end, and I hope you would consider helping me if you can. Thanks a lot.